So how y'all doing? So we're going to get a little weird today. Geometry was my least favorite math subject, but I think it's the most relevant subject now today. So I am a huge weather dork, and today is one of these fantastic days to understand the power of the sun. We received 1.5 inches of snow, and it's almost all gone. The sun finally came out, and what is going to happen this afternoon, if you see these dark clouds, we're going to have these vigorous snow showers, and we've got extremely cold air up top, and these warm bubbles will warm up and make these convection. And you can see the weed out there. See how green it is? There's no snow there. That vegetative flesh is warmer than the cold ground. And I think the number one thing that holds people back is putting so much faith in the givens. Look, I'm not saying that coming up with a mean answer, an average answer, or a best management practice isn't a great idea for most of your acres. But the problem is nobody wants to, see what else is out there, really learn the spectrums. When I talk about planting next week, one thing that would hold people back is we're at 37 degrees soil temperature. That's crazy. It needs to imbibe at 50. Well, what if you only get 60 or 70% stand? Well, that's not going to ruin the whole project, because what trumps that more than anything is time and reproduction. Now, corn, that's important. I'm not planting corn, but a soybean has the ability to branch, flower earlier, and stay alive longer. We can overtake that. Okay, crop insurance. This isn't allowed in crop insurance. Or we need to wait till the 20th of April because we're not covered on replant. Look, 3 years in a row, we've debunked that and planted hard beans before the 20th. Last year, we averaged 82 bushels on 600 acres planted before that. Now, we had some replant drowned it out. We didn't get compensated for that. But if they made 17 more bushels than the next go around, I think it was worth the risk there. But all these little things, seeding depth, wheat needs to be planted at 1.5 inches or it'll be a disaster. I've got wheat that's 1/4 and I've got wheat at 3. I probably got 70% of them up, but guess what? The ones that come up will multiply into 20 or 30 tillers per heads. It's not that important. And this system here is a system of debunking these rules that makes people's heads spin, but it's all about what matters. So let's get to these little microclimates, because I think this is important talking geometry-wise. So yes, our soil is cold, but if you know a guy named Chris Ehler, he's been planting beans for 9 years in a row and has not had one crop failure. In fact, his early planted beans always out-yield later planted beans for them reasons before. So we're not worried about it. We're not worried about even if we don't get a bunch or if we get 60 or 70% of them up, because we've got them in a bead this year and they'll be fine, especially with the fertility in place. So what's going to happen between March 20th and April 20th is our soil's going to warm and it's going to protect these soybeans. The only thing that matters is when this growing fluffy leaf comes out of the soybeans. That's going to be around the 20th, and our wheat is going to grow a bunch in that time period. Because we have thought ahead a little bit here, we've got a raw product that we can't quantify the exact amount of nitrogen units or anything like that. I can't tell you specifically how much we got. All I know is it's going to make it tiller, and it's because it's locally placed, we can cut our rates a lot because our ambient soil test levels for the whole field is north of 100. So we don't need to broadcast our manure across the whole field. If we locally place it 60 inches apart and we take out 4 of those injection points, then if we're at 6,000, now we're at 2,000 because we don't need it. But we can synthetically biologically make this wheat grow bigger, more sideways, and by the time this wheat grows and gets to this point that's relevant, then we get a little microclimate. So let's say we're at 25 degrees. That's what's on your phone. That's at 2 meters. Well, if our 4 inches deep, we're at 52 degrees. Yeah, the soil is going to be a little bit colder up top in that cold streak, but the combination of the ambient upwelling of the warmer soil and the foliage now that overhangs the soybean up is going to make these little microclimates. We might be at 27 here and 30 here, but right here we're at 34. It's going to have to be really cold for that to happen. We're not worried about it. So we get later on and we get to close to harvest and we want to take these wheat heads off. Now there are ways that we can invest and make this process maybe a little less stressful, but at the end of the day, am I still on here? Yeah, okay. The only thing that matters is on that day of harvest, we can go up here 22 inches and we're going to capture at least 96 to 98% of our wheat heads. We might have a couple tillers down there lower, but then we have a field of soybeans. And here's the cool thing. I've talked about this, but it's so important. When we have high fertility, we raise soybeans more like forage soybeans. The number one thing, in my opinion, that holds people back on soybean yields is they're not getting top yields on their best soil because they're too thick and they're too viney. This really impedes that on our more fertile ground with manure, because now this soybean has these voided space and it grows horizontally, and those branches bring that energy back to lower nodes. So nothing in nature that you see is a tabletop of sun capture of one species other than farmers' fields. It's really unnatural. What happens to this soybean plant when it can get solar energy to the lower nodes is it continuously builds fruit on these lower nodes. The nodes don't get longer apart. They stay short apart because it's bringing that energy back. So you can really get aggressive later with a soybean plant and get top yields per plant. So you combine the tillering and that, we don't need much seed. We capture the nitrogen. It's a system. But anyway, enough rambling on. But look, I'm not telling you to do anything crazy on your farm across all your acres. But I think the most silly thing is to try to figure out the best answer and take that across all your acres, because you're not going to learn anything. Try these different variances in every facet or things that you're interested in and learn the spectrums, and then think about systems. All right, good day.